And let's step back into what led to that reset that looking back at now, you go, oh man, I should have done these things different. So therefore I do.
So I'm getting to a point in my life as I'm getting older. I'm 39. I turn 40 next month in April. And I'm starting to realize that in order to have an experience, you have to know both sides of it. Pretty much from my experience, it's like it has to happen that way. So you can't know love without knowing, the opposite or the inverse of that. You can't know strength without knowing no strength. So I noticed that throughout my life, I had bounced on these extremes, and I'm finally now coming into the middle. And I was reading like a quote from somebody the other day that was saying that, you can't find balance until you find your extremes, because you don't know where the balance is then. So I've always been a very high energy individual. I've always, felt I can do anything I put my mind to. My mother is practices meditation and yoga and was living in an ashram before I was even born. So I was brought up with a lot of that mentality, and especially from her, she always let me know that was the case. I was also an only child, so I was probably, you would have talked to me 15 years ago and I would have been someone you would have thought is very full of themselves, because I had that feeling and that knowing, but it was positioned where it was, I'm better than anything else, where it's not like that. I see it as it's like an energy play where we all have the ability to manipulate and work with this creative landscape that we have. And it all comes from what we can see first. So if we don't have clarity on what we're moving toward, we can move the physical around and build it up and put a bunch of it in a room and say that, look at all my stuff. But you're not really like working with it in that aspect, or it's like you're only kind of working with part of it or the surface of it. That all of these different scenarios that I think anybody goes through, especially for myself, I felt like it was imperative for me to learn and feel those extremes at the time. Of course, you can't make any sense of it, right? Because you only know one perspective. And then as you go through it, your perspective opens up. And, I find that's kind of what I see now, is that as far as going on extremes, okay, I've been to every extreme you could possibly imagine that was within what I was trying to do, right? So if I wanted to be the go out guy, I was the guy that just way overdid it, okay? Where, I go out Friday and I'd come back Sunday, it was just always overdoing everything. I worked, 18 hours a day, and in a year and a half, number one sales guy at this, all these things, but they weren't healthy the way I was doing it. It was almost like I was trying desperately to get that feeling I know that I should feel and I want to feel, but I was completely going at it the wrong way, And when I was younger, I don't think you can, at least for myself, I can't speak for anybody else, but you can't see that, you can't really see that until you kind of start to mature more and start to realize what's here, right? And the things that I thought were valuable before actually brought all the bad people into my life because they were also artificial, And I see how it all played off of each other, So it's it's been an interesting experience for sure, but I think that as part of like finding yourself, you have to explore, right? And you have to reach those things in order to find out where your lane is. And I feel like I'm just finally starting to see the lane, and I'm still wandering all over it, but I'm getting it. I'm on it most of the time. But there are certain moments that I fall off. And because I'm cognizant of paying attention to this daily, I notice those. And then, sometimes there are things where I don't even know how I'm going to figure them out. Like, I'll give you an example. So, I wake up yesterday, I feel great. I feel like I can take over the world. I sit down and I get a email from, I think it was Voyage magazine. They want to write an article on both me and Risa that is for influential people, an influential series that they're doing, and we were recommended. So I was real excited about that. So I'm putting a post up, and I spent like 15 minutes writing this. I articulated it the way I wanted to. and then I go to hit save and it just closes. And I didn't copy and paste it into a Word doc like I normally do, right? Because I do this kind of stuff for a living too, so like I know that happens a lot. And then because I knew that happened and I messed that up, I just spiraled for like 10 minutes. Like literally this feeling comes up over me, my head starts pounding, and I'm like, I could jump out of a window, and it feels like that would be a better choice than anything else. Like I go instantly to this really bad place, but I know now if I just, all right, just let me get through it, you know, and then it goes away in like 10 or 15 minutes, but it's like extreme. And then what I'm starting to see though now, it's like, you can't fix that for me while I'm in that state. It's all about how I am the other times that is allowing that state to kind of express itself. So if I'm all like wound up, it's easier for it to catch up and just flare up. But if I'm balanced and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, like meditating and things along those lines, I noticed that doesn't happen. Yeah, right? So like that was like this real subtleness that I was battling with for the last year or two. And it's like, it's not like something that was killing me on a multiple times a day, but like once or twice a week, I'd get very worked up and I didn't like it. I felt very out of control. I didn't like, I just didn't like how, I want to articulate myself well. And during those moments, I feel like I don't even know what I'm doing. They're short-lived, but I didn't, they would feel so, it's like it would take over. And when I'm in that headset, I can't see out of it. So it's like I have to get out of it and then I have to look at it and go, okay, what's really making that happen? And I feel like it's like these emotions I have from when I was younger that tend to, and it's probably because they were undealt with things, because I had some traumatic stuff that happened when I was a kid as far as like family, like I was saying before, there was substance abuse issues and people leaving and me being too young to understand what was going on. And I never really dealt with those. I kind of blocked it out. Like I really don't even remember a lot of my childhood. I just don't remember it. So I'm sure that'll all start coming up at some point now that I'm trying to look at it. But these little expressions still pop up, and I can tell they're from that because it's like a child. I get childlike, and my behavior is like, no, I don't want to do it, and I feel like it's rooted in a child perspective. So it's like I'm just starting to see this kind of stuff for the last couple of weeks. And it's interesting, like I just never thought I'd be, at this point where I'm like writing down what the little nuances of things I don't like that I do, where if if I'm in a certain situation where, I might be, at fault, I get, oh my God, I'm sorry. I get very like, ugh. And like, I can tell that too is from that. And, I don't like that because most of the time I have nothing to be sorry about at all. Yeah. Right. But I still feel that way. So like, how do you not feel like that if it feels like, when you touch a hot plate, your finger burns? And then you're telling me to have it not feel like it's going to burn. Well, it's just there. I don't know what to do with it. So like I've been starting to see now that it's not like it's completely out of my control, but there are things that lead up to it. And, maybe that's going to be scarring that I'll have forever. But by working on myself more, it doesn't ever have to get in the way, or maybe it completely goes away. Who knows? But, right now I'm okay if it never does. And if I could just learn how to become better from all of that by, learning my own place of balance or where I really should be, that would be a huge win out of that scenario as it is. So, yeah, I'm trying, I think like all of us, try to figure out why we do the things we do sometimes, or why it's so hard to change or, or set things that you can see other people do.